we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel.
Joel.
I thought it was very funny that you said we should start recording just as you were starting to eat more food, so it's like difficult for you to talk.
Yeah, I wasn't like thinking ahead. It's like two parallel processes going on, you know? Like eat
Right.
food, but also
podcast.
Also podcast.
The good news is I don't think it's the sounds of you eating are very audible.
That is, I don't think I'm being very loud.
Yeah. Might be kind of gross in an audio podcast.
Right. I could probably make it bad with soup.
Right.
Yeah. For the listeners, that was Alex, not me.
That was Nathan.
I would
eating
never do
soup.
that to you.
All right, so welcome to the podcast, everybody. Somehow we miscounted, and this is episode 21. As we sit here, not 6 days, 5 days from our first ever live episode.
Yeah.
Our first ever tour.
So if you haven't yet sent us a picture of money to receive a picture of a ticket, there's still time. As of right now, I'm just gonna double check this for accuracy. Let's see, real quick here, and yep, that is my suspicions were correct. We have 0 emails from anybody about anything really.
Yeah. You know, I'm thinking it may have something to do with the fact that we just posted episodes 16 through 20, in which we announced that this thing is going to happen, and tell people to email us pictures of money.
Right.
And they all have no views.
I was assuming that would be the case, but still secretly hopeful that somebody out there has turned notifications on. Besides me, I got the notifications, of course, but
it's okay. We still have 5 days for someone to send us a picture of money.
Yep. If it doesn't happen, we are not coming anymore. So
no, we are. We're just gonna kick everyone out of the room when we do the podcast. None of you purchased a picture of a ticket, so you must all leave.
Yep. I don't think we could successfully kick everybody out of either of the rooms that we would likely be doing the podcast in.
That's correct, because we're not in the club anymore.
Right.
And even if we were still in the club, we probably still couldn't kick people out.
We probably still couldn't. It's a little disappointing that we couldn't do it. It does make sense, but also
we could. You know what we should do? Here's what we should do. We should ask everyone to move to a classroom for the podcast. Then as soon as we get there, ask everyone to leave.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming to this classroom. You all have your tickets, right? Nobody has a ticket?
You at least have a picture. Do you at least have a picture of your ticket? Not even a picture? Should have sent us a picture of money then, huh?
Should have listened to the podcast. I don't know whether it would be a lot funnier or a little bit sad if during our one tour guest appearance podcast at a place, if it was still just us talking in a room by ourselves.
It would be funny for like a minute, but like it would overall probably be less funny. Like the joke itself would be like, here we are on our first ever live tour and no one's here, and that would be funny for like a minute, but then like the rest of the podcast would be worse.
Yeah. I think it would be funny if nobody showed up. I think it's less funny if we kicked everybody out. Well, it's just differently funny, right? Like the joke is then like nobody bought a ticket versus nobody even bothered to show up.
Right. Well, I feel like, yeah, nobody even bothered to show up is like a sad funny. And like we kicked everyone out is just like basically just a joke, except that we took it too far and actually kicked everyone out.
Yeah. And then did our usual just, steal questions and
Right.
talk about them.
Anyway. Reminder, after this we should discuss what we're going to do during that podcast. For all the listeners out there, we have a very clear plan in mind. We're just discussing the, minute details of what exactly is going to go on. Definitely not have no idea what the format is going to be yet.
Right. We just have to iron out the details, figure out to do with the donations that we've received.
We did receive another donation.
Yep. It'll be very helpful in funding our trip down to Purdue. I think maybe 5,000 more donations like that, and my portion of the trip is covered.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think 0.1% of my plane ticket is now covered.
Yep. So keep up your generous donations, because without them we'll be just not making money, and then what's the point?
Yeah, like you want to listen to this podcast, right? Well, we're still gonna do it even if you don't donate, but you may as well donate, right?
That's a good mindset. I think everybody should have that mindset. Otherwise, we'll just continue to do this, but be a little bit more sad, I guess.
We did have one request for us to make a Patreon.
Oh, and actually, it wasn't just that request that he sent you, because they visited Madison this week.
Okay, so they told you.
He brought it up to me again in person, and so I think if we actually do it, he might actually like make a recurring donation of the magnitude that he is currently donating, because I don't expect anything else. But
I think if we created a Patreon and people started donating actual money, I think I would feel bad. Like people are giving us money for this shit.
It would be a little like I'd feel guilty for not putting any effort in ever if we were getting money. I think we'd have to try a little bit.
I just feel like we're so much worse maybe we're not worse, but we're just not any better when we put effort in.
Right.
It's a real issue.
And the other thing is too, like we're gonna feel like we have to put in effort because we're getting money, but we're gonna get like $1 a month at most.
I would still feel bad if someone was paying us $1 a month.
Yeah, I would still feel bad, but like there's no benefit for us. That's what I'm saying. Like if we were getting like $50 a month or like $20 a month, if we had to split $20 a month, I would feel okay putting some effort in. Like I would feel like I got a return for that time that I spent. But like when we inevitably get like 5 cents per month, I'm still gonna feel like the content has to be better. But there's just literally no gain. Like my life will not change.
So if you're donating less than $1 a month, then you're actually a bad person because you're making us feel like we need to improve our content without actually giving us anything. So we do not want any. No, I feel like we shouldn't say that. No, I was telling you that Patreon doesn't necessarily cost a subscription, but they take a percentage of your earnings.
Right.
I'm curious how that works for like if somebody is donating 1 cent per month to you. Do they just not take anything, or do they like take one out of every, or like five out of like one out of every 20 times they take the cent, or
Yeah.
like
That is interesting from their perspective. I don't. I feel like they would. It's more likely that they would take the cent sometimes, or maybe even all the time, because, well, I'm not actually sure. It's probably
the thing is
the
the cost.
fees.
Right, it's probably trivial to just have like if somebody made an account that no one donated to, probably
Right.
doesn't cost them much or anything. Well, probably cost them something, but very little. So like
I'm
I'm cur-
guessing.
yeah,
I'm guessing that the majority of people on Patreon don't make very much, but like there's probably kind of like a lower threshold below which, like, I feel like there are not a bunch of people on Patreon making 1 cent per month in the same way that there are a bunch of people on YouTube getting like one view on one video per month.
right.
You know what I mean? So like I don't know that they have like a model built for that. And now I'm curious to find out what would happen. I'm now more interested in making a Patreon.
You know what? If you want to donate less than $1, now you're a good person
It's
because
for science.
you're helping us solve a mystery that we want to know. So, remember when I said you're a bad person? Just pretend I didn't say that.
Yeah, start listening to the podcast right now.
Just
Retroactively stop listening. Don't listen to the last part. If you did, just don't.
if you did, you didn't.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex, and this is our podcast.
Joel. Nice save. I was gonna be really confused about what to say.
Yeah,
I don't usually do that
you've
part.
never done an opening before, have you?
Yeah. I was actually thinking that would be an interesting. I mean, it'd be horrible, but it's a little bit funny in my head for me to think like when I leave my apartment and get into my car, I start recording and say, "Hi, I'm Alex," and then there's just 3 hours of silence while I drive to Chicago, and then I like have texted you in advance so that the first thing you say when you get into the car is, "And I'm Alex," so that's just the horrific start to our road podcast. I think that'd be very funny conceptually. But the problem with it is that's not the way we say things. That's backwards.
We have a very high concept podcast here. It's not everyone gets the humor.
To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to appreciate. I don't.
It's pretty heady stuff. You're right. So, what could we do? No, I can't think of anything. I was gonna say I just say it when I get in the car, and then like we just sit there in silence for like an hour, and then you say it. But then we have to.
Actually, hold on a minute. We just do that exact same thing, except you're the one recording and you say it before you get on the plane.
Then I have to be recording the whole time I'm on the plane.
And we hear a bunch of boring plane stuff. Like the drone of the plane engines and like the announcements.
Right, plus a lot of like jostling around. I wonder if I have enough memory to record for like 3 hours of audio. 3 consecutive hours of audio. I wonder how much space that would take up. I probably have enough memory.
Yeah. It's probably a couple hundred megabytes.
Yeah, I'm sure I have that memory.
I'm sure you've got enough. The issue is like listening to that is not interesting.
Right. Well, no one would listen to it, right? They
Right.
would just skip ahead until they heard us talking.
I kind of think it would still be funny for us. I'm not sure if it would be funny to other people.
Well, that's like basically the entirety of this podcast, so
If you think that would be funny, please email us. Alex and
also if
Alex
you don't
at
think it would be
Podcast.
funny, also email us.
Yes, please give us your feedback down in the comments section below this video. There's a thumbs up button and a thumbs down button. So if you like this idea, hit the thumbs up button. If you don't like this idea, click the X on your browser.
We're really sounding like we're in like 2005 now. Like, oh, email us and press the thumbs up button below the video.
Please send us a postcard at our P.O. box.
Message us on AOL IM.
I really can't think of anything more outdated than that. That's like, I know there was more outdated stuff, but I'm just too young to know what it is.
Right. I guess the next thing would just be to like call us.
No, please don't call me. I don't want that. You don't want that. Let's be
Let
real.
me read everyone Nathan's phone number.
You know what's interesting is I don't like calling people and I don't like receiving phone calls. But at work, I have to participate in conference calls, and that's not a big deal.
Like conference calls on the phone?
On the phone with like me and one other employee at my company and several of our customers.
Interesting.
And that the only reason I'm not like fully on board with that is I don't really know how to do my job very well.
Glad we can admit that on a publicly published podcast.
So if they ask me like direct questions, I do have to like, just kind of make a fluff answer that's basically, let me learn how to do that and I'll get back to you.
Right. It's like
if you're my customer, by the way, hello. This is you're seeing a whole different side of me on this podcast.
I have something similar where I know how to do my job, but I don't really know that much about the product that I'm working on. Right. So I'll like tell people like, oh, I work on this, and they're like, oh, what if they'll like ask me some question about it, and I'll be like, I don't know. I can tell you about this specific aspect of the code that I'm working on if you want to know that.
Right. I think I have almost the exact opposite problem actually, because I've been through a lot of training about the product and how to use the product, but not my particular job, which is like being the administrator for the product.
Right.
So like I know what the customers are doing, but it's not actually even my job to like advise them on that. There's another employee that does that stuff with them. I am specifically like, their system administrator. I don't know much about that.
Right. So now that everyone's heard a very interesting conversation about our jobs
and how bad we are.
Hey, I didn't say I was bad.
Don't worry, everyone. We're still making plenty of money.
If you're my employer, I'm good at my job and I know everything about our product.
If you're my boss, we've essentially had this conversation, so you're probably not surprised.
All right. Yeah, I guess we should start the podcast.
Yeah, that was a great intro. If you liked that intro, please email us.
You mean 2 intros, because it's basically 2 intros. We started the podcast and then started it again.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Dude, it's like 2 minutes ago.
I don't pay attention to what we're doing, really. So things leave my memory very quickly when we're on the podcast.
If you want Nathan to pay attention, please donate to our Patreon.
Right. I'm gonna once I finish this is my last bit of grilled cheese. Once I finish it, I'll get my laptop over here and we'll figure out how to create a Patreon account, and then I will send a message to David so that he can start paying us money, and then we'll figure out what Patreon does with that money.
All right. Cool. So I guess by the end of this podcast, we will have a Patreon. Okay. So, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Here's your weekly weekly reminder that Nathan does not owe me $1. And moving on to Philadelphia sports update. It's so weird that we do a Philadelphia sports update. Anyway, this was a very good week for Philadelphia sports. The Eagles pretty solidly beat the Bills yesterday. The Bills were 5-1 going into the game.
Were you at that game?
I was at the game.
And that's why we're recording today.
Yes. So it was a good game to be at in terms of watching the game, but the weather was really shitty. So basically sprinkling the whole game and extremely windy. So, but yeah, good game to watch. Cool. As an Eagles fan. The Sixers started their season and are now 2-0, undefeated.
It's better than the Warriors.
Yep, and also Joel Embiid got injured in the very first game, so that's good.
Solid.
Yep. Let's see, what else? The Flyers went 3-1 in the last week. In their wins, they scored a total of 17 goals.
That's absurd. Okay.
So that's good news. And obviously the Phillies are not playing anymore, but let's see. The Nationals lost the last 3 games of the World Series, which I'm happy about.
Is the World Series over?
It is not over. So Game 6 is probably tomorrow, I'm guessing. The Astros are leading 3-2. And so far in every game, the away team has won. So
the did you say the Nationals?
The Nationals. Yeah, the Nationals.
The Nationals went up 2-0, and now the other team, which I think you just said was the Astros, is that right?
Yep.
They won 3 straight, so they're up 3-2.
Yep.
And you played a 4.
Yeah.
So best of 7.
Correct.
So, all right. Well, it's interesting that I haven't heard anything about the World Series. I feel like most of the other major sports are like, I don't know, maybe it's just the sorts of news and like social media stuff that I look at. Yeah,
it's not. The amount of information that I just told you about the World Series is about all the information I know. I follow sports, and I really have heard almost nothing about the World Series.
Yeah.
Mainly because I don't really care that much about it. Although I want the Nationals to lose, but
but not that badly.
Right, not even that much. I wouldn't be that unhappy if they won.
Right. Purdue sports update. Basketball is starting soon.
Yeah, it starts let's see, what are we? Today's Monday the 28th, so I guess it starts in 10 days. And football, we don't need to talk about that.
Yep.
So, yeah, this weekend was the sports equinox, which is all 4 major American sports playing on the same day. Football, basketball, baseball, and hockey all playing. And this will...
Does that happen every year?
It does not necessarily happen every year. Depends upon the World Series. Is pretty much the limiting factor. So like if the World Series had only gone 4 games, it would not have happened. But it did, and so once in a lifetime, once a year, really, actually, event.
So congratulations, everybody. We did it.
We won.
We'll see you again next year.
Yep.
With all the rest of the sports.
We're gonna stop podcasting like 4 months, except for one episode 1 year from now, just to talk about this again.
Guys, it happened. It's finally here again.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I guess that concludes the intro portion of our podcast. Oh, actually, there is one more thing I wanted to say. So the Sixers played the Celtics for their first game of the season, and the Celtics drafted Carson Edwards.
Right.
Which is extremely, I hate it.
Right.
Because I do not like the Celtics, but I cannot bring myself to root against Carson Edwards. Like, even when he's playing against the Sixers, I find myself wanting him to do well. It's really terrible. So, anyway, screw you, Celtics.
That is depressing.
Screw you, Sixers front office who traded the pick.
Hopefully he transfers to somewhere else.
Yes, transferring. That is what it is called.
Hopefully he is traded. This is not college sports, which is the most sports that I understand.
Yep. All right, so let's get started here. So for all of our loyal listeners, you'll remember that last week we said we were going to do Monkey's Paw this episode. So for those of you who don't know or forgot what it is, basically one of us will say a wish, and the goal of the other person is to come up with an implementation of that wish that actually makes it bad. So, for example, if I wished for $1 million, Nathan might say, wish granted, all the poorest people lose all their money because it goes to you, and they all starve to death. So, that's the idea. So, an interesting distinction that needs to be made is you don't want to just come up with a random side effect that goes with the wish. You want to come up with something that is part of how the wish is granted that makes it bad. So we've come up with some wishes, and I think we've taken very different approaches to these. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. All right, so what we're gonna do is Nathan made his wishes more specific and worded more meticulously so that they're difficult to twist, and I just kind of wished for things that I wanted that I haven't thought about it a lot, but I'm not really sure how some of these could be turned against me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one of each. And if one of them is more fun or more interesting, then the other person will adjust their wishes to be more or less strictly worded.
Right.
For a maximum entertainment value.
Because that's what we're chasing here.
That's what we're here for. That's why you donate your 1 cent a month.
For maximum entertainment.
All right.
Now this is an experiment, apparently. Oh, I can sign up with Google. That'll be super easy.
All right. Do you want to go first or second?
How many do you have?
I have 5.
Okay, I have 3. So why don't you go first?
All right. Here you go. Ready? I wish I had a photographic memory.
Do
you see what I mean?
I do see what you mean. It's such a simple thing. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is like I have to make the photographic memory bad. Like I can't. There's no real implementation of that wish. It's just you have it or you don't.
Right. So I mean, from my thinking, like I guess we'll just work together on this one because otherwise it's going to be less interesting. So
Sure.
my initial thought is that like I have a photographic memory, but I now remember something bad or traumatic. But the thing is, that's not really about the implementation. It's just an additional side effect. Like you get something good, you get something bad. So
And even just like, I mean, I don't know if you have anything traumatic in your past to remember, you
I
know?
mean,
Like,
not that I know of.
right? And I can't say like, granted, and you will have traumatic things happen to
Right,
you, and then you'll have to remember them
right.
because that doesn't make any sense. So, like, what about if I say you have a photographic memory? No, it doesn't really make sense. Like that, if you had a photographic memory, but like your comprehension of what you remembered was bad, you know, but that wouldn't be as good. But I don't think that follows from having a photographic memory.
Right.
I
All
think
right.
having
So I guess
a memory is just a good thing. You win.
I win this one. All right. Go ahead with your first
All
one.
right, my first convoluted wish is that I wish whenever I spent a trivial amount of money, which I defined as less than $50, my checking account balance increases by that amount.
Okay, that's a good one. So you're obviously oh, well, you left yourself open to the loophole I said before.
I realized that as I was reading it
You now
because
receive your money from poor people and they
yeah,
all go hungry because of you.
that's unfortunate and also very simple. I was caught up in the uh, making sure that I didn't somehow lose the money myself that I didn't
Right.
consider.
You also I think were did a good job with the whole not like the problems that come with just having an unlimited amount of money.
Yeah, I
So,
did specifically try and nerf the wish a bit so that it wouldn't like wreck the economy if I bought a car or something,
right,
or probably something bigger than a car, several houses. I don't know.
right.
I don't
Yeah.
dream very big apparently.
Yeah. All right.
Become a creator. Let's get started.
Here we go. Wish number 2 from me.
So I don't think either of those really seemed any better or worse than the other for the record.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's continue with what we have.
Right.
They also didn't take very long to do, so maybe we'll end up just burning through them and then try and come up with some on the fly, having learned our lessons from the previous ones.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. All right, here we go.
That'll work great.
I wish here's one that I thought of a possible drawback to, so let's see if you can get it.
Okay.
I wish I had digital access to any movie or TV show I wanted.
I'll say granted, but it's 144p.
Oh,
You
that's a
just
good
got
one.
really, really, it's like disgusting to look at.
Yeah, no, that's
Whatever,
great. It'd be infuriating to try and watch anything.
right? And I was tempted to throw in like it's over a bad internet connection or something as well, but I don't think that's necessarily like intrinsic to having the access.
Right.
Um,
That's a good one. What I was thinking of is granted, but it's illegal and the police find you and arrest you.
that's fair because you kind of do have access to a bunch of stuff already. It's just you're not supposed to get it.
Yeah, that was a better one. I didn't even think of that. All right, good job. All right, what's your second one?
All right, my second one is I wish I could learn to play pieces on piano faster without needing to spend more time playing.
Faster without needing to spend more time playing. So just faster. Okay. Right. Right. I see what the wish is. I feel like the wording may be slightly redundant, but let's see.
I think I let me explain why I chose the words because I think you're maybe interpreting it differently. Um, so the faster refers to no, maybe you're right. Now that I think about it, I wish I became better more quickly without increasing the total amount of time I play per day or something like that.
Right. I feel like what your thought was is I wish I would become better. I wish I would learn pieces in the same amount of time without having to play more. But then you combined that wish with I wish I could learn pieces faster, which just implies that it's at a higher rate. So that if you played the same amount, you would get better. You would get better than you would now.
I feel like if I say learn to play pieces faster, then in the same amount of time would just mean that I spent more time per day playing.
Right, but I'm saying faster doesn't necessarily imply the same amount of time. It just means at a higher rate. So like in an equivalent amount of time, the faster one would learn more. Anyway, this is nitpicking. I think we're on the same page about what the actual wish is.
Right,
Um,
sounds like it.
so let's see. That's I can't think of anything easily off the top of my head. You can learn piano pieces faster. Hmm. My initial only thing I could think of was just you learn pieces instantly and then you just it's like no I'm not sure if that would really be bad, but I guess that's the worst thing I could think of is that you would learn pieces instantly so you never need to practice, so you would just like not play that much. But
Yeah,
that's not even very bad. That's still really good.
that would be that would be nice because I like playing, but I also like listening to myself play. So if I could just play, if I could sit down and sight read any piece of music, that would be good in one sense. I the only downside I can think is, well, I don't even know about that. It feels at that point kind of like you're cheating, like you're not.
The only thing that I can think of
There, but
the
if I could
worst
genuinely do that, that would be amazing. So
I think the worst thing that I can think of is just like you're only you're very 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 slightly better. So it's like basically unnoticeable. But like that's not really bad. It's just not good.
it's not as good as I wanted, but it is just better. I think that may be the best we can do. Well, that may not be true. I don't know if we thought about it for a while, but that's a good way to kind of diminish how good this actually is.
All right. Let me pick another one out here. I wish my car never broke down.
Is it fair to say fine, but you just never drive it again and it sits there in working order?
That's basically you can say that. I think what you have to say is granted because it never moves. It's
Right.
unable to move anymore.
It is frozen in place.
Oh yeah, you got me there.
Yeah. It doesn't feel quite right to me, but I mean, I
I
don't
feel
know,
like
good enough, right?
that's yeah, that would be an easy fix to the wish just to specify what you mean by never breaks down.
Right.
But yeah, I guess the as is the wish can easily be thwarted by that.
And if instead you had said like, I wish my car was
Always ran
all
as if it were new.
right. Then what would you say? You'd say maybe like it always runs as if it's new.
The new car smell never goes away.
You're cursed with new car smell forever.
Some people
Except
like.
that's not bad. So
I think it might be kind of annoying. What else?
it's better than like not smelling good forever. At least new car smell is not like an offensive smell.
Right. The only thing I was thinking of when I wrote it was something to do with like the environmental impact of a car that never degraded.
I feel like a car degrading is worse than a car that just stays in good working order. Right? Like with the way cars are built now, and even cars that are a few years old, like they comply with a particular set of emissions regulations.
Right.
I feel like if the car broke in any way, it would run less efficiently and create more, like I think that's kind of a possible side effect, but it's not really a requirement for your car never breaking down.
Right.
So it's hard to rope that in, at least in my mind.
I feel like what?
I'm hearing noises from over by my stove, and I'm wondering if I just left my stove on. Hold on a minute.
Oh, it's me. I'm hiding by your stove.
Oh, okay. Hi. Yeah, stove wasn't on, so clearly it's you.
I feel like you can throw something in there like granted, and for years your car just works, so you never get a new car, even when.
You can never bring yourself to get rid of the car. And the
Right.
second you do, once it's, fairly old, it's no longer your car, so it'll probably just break down with however many miles on it that you've,
Well, that's not really bad. The bad part is that, I mean, all right, here we go. You never want to get rid of it because it always runs like new. You feel bad about buying a new car when you have a perfectly working one, but the car becomes unsafe, which is unrelated to how it runs because of, safe like seat belts and stuff deteriorating, and then you're driving an unsafe car. What?
It doesn't break down. It just deteriorates in every other way. Except at that point, you'd be like, well, it's unsafe. Even if it does run well, I don't want to drive it anymore, and you'd buy a new car.
Yeah, so I guess we've done another wish where we just reduced it to basically nothing. Not bad, just basically nothing. Although that would still be better than nothing, actually, because you would never have to get it fixed. Never have to get an oil change. Still be nice. Anyway. All right, what's your final one here?
All right, my final one is actually kind of a joke. I did do this, but I feel like I dropped the ball by thinking about it for 10 minutes on one day and coming up with a couple of good ones, but then just kind of trying to pad my list.
It's okay. I just thought about it for 10 minutes before the podcast, so.
I think this might actually lead to some funny discussion, though, because it is. I wish our podcast was better without us needing to put more effort into it.
So I guess we just become naturally funnier in the best interpretation of that wish.
Right.
Granted, it becomes funnier because you're kicked off the podcast and someone funnier replaces you. And you don't need to put in any more effort, that's for sure.
That's true. It's definitely less effort. You could even continue to force me to upload all of the podcasts because just uploading the podcast I would think is less effort than recording and uploading.
Right.
So make me do all the bad parts without any of the interesting bits. I've reached a page on Patreon if we want to pause this discussion real quick. I'm filling out their form for setting up an account. And this question that I've reached is, does your work contain 18 plus themes such as real or illustrated nudity?
When it said 18 plus themes, I thought it meant like over 18. Like the number of themes was over 18.
Right. It actually does define this on the side here. 18 plus means material that features real or illustrated nudity or other creations that may be considered inappropriate for people under 18 years old. Patreon is a place where all types of artists can express themselves freely. At the same time, we need to ensure that the browsing experience is sensitive to different age groups, cultures, and contexts. Please help us keep Patreon a welcoming place for everyone and tag your content appropriately. There's a learn more link, which I'm going to click just out of curiosity, not because I think we're an adult podcast.
Well, the only thing is we do have some language that we throw around.
Right. I don't
think that makes us 18 plus, but I'm wondering if there's like some way we would tell people that.
Right. It looks like in the learn more page, it does specifically call out like adult content, and I don't think language is much of an adult content thing.
Yeah. Fuck adult content. Kids can listen to this shit.
Not in a sexual way.
What?
But not in a sexual way.
Platonically fuck adult content.
wait a minute. I don't think that was the right word to fix it.
Yeah, I think that made it worse.
I don't think there's an adverb. I'm really struggling to think of an adverb you can add there to make it better.
Non-sexually.
I suppose you're technically correct.
Just say fuck adult content. But not in like a sexual way, just like screw it. I mean, not in like a sexual way, but like, you know what I mean, right?
All right, so I'm just going to click the button that says, nope, none of that. Instead of somewhere all of it.
None of that shit.
The
rest of the podcast is just me cursing every sentence.
All right, I'm gonna show you this just because it's kind of nice of Patreon. They're saying welcome. I figure you should be in on this as well.
They're so excited to have us.
Yep. We're so excited to have the opportunity to help you earn more for your creative work.
If only I was excited as they are.
Right. Next, you'll be able to start filling out the details for your Patreon page. All right, while I do that, why don't you upload the profile picture is required, cover image is required, create a new section is required.
What is the difference between a cover image and a profile picture?
I don't know. Oh, it looks like the cover photo is like a banner of sorts across the top of the page, maybe.
I see.
Whereas the profile picture is clearly the image that we use on YouTube.
Right. So what we need to do is when we are together next weekend, we need to take a close-up picture of our eyes to just be the banner.
I've got to put something though, so for now I'm just going to take a picture of my feet and the piano.
If there's any foot fetishists out there, you're welcome.
But not in an adult way. Definitely not in an adult way. Totally PG.
In a family-friendly way, you're welcome.
Enjoy responsibly.
Oh no, that makes it worse.
Why does everything make slightly sexual things more sexual? We can define our Patreon page URL. That's awesome. It's Joel the Podcast. Patreon.com/Joel the Podcast for all of your money donations, and that's about it. Money donations, please, to Patreon.com/Joel the Podcast.
Yep. So if you're not donating, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Even though you just found out about it 1 second ago.
All right. Now I've got to take a picture of my feet, which I thought was going to be kind of funny and easy because I've got my laptop on my lap, just like, pointed at my, like the way I'm sitting. You can see here is like very easy to take that picture.
Ooh la la.
Except the laptop camera, of course, doesn't point out the back of the laptop. So
what you should do is just draw Purdue P, but make it really bad on purpose.
Like super wide.
Yeah, just super. It's like like 10-to-1 aspect ratio Purdue P.
All right.
Actually, don't even take a picture. Just take a normal picture of a Purdue P and just stretch it out to be however long it needs to be.
That's perfect. I'm gonna figure out how to do that right now. Do you think that's like a copyright problem?
If our page becomes popular enough that we receive a cease and desist letter from Purdue, I will happily take it down. But keep in mind, we're only having this for a week because it's going to be a picture of our eyes after next weekend.
That's true. We're definitely not going to get that popular in a week. All right. Save image.
All I want is a cease and desist letter from Purdue telling them to take the extremely elongated Purdue P off our Patreon page.
Yep, I definitely want that as well.
Purdue lawyers, if you're listening to this, please email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com with a cease and desist letter. Even if we've already taken it down by now.
All right. File. Image. All right. I'm going to figure out how to do this. In the meantime, we have some more questions, right? You've got a few left. Not questions. That other thing that we're doing now.
Wishes. Well, I feel like we need to, we kind of stopped in the middle of discussing your last wish.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, well, your wish was, I wish our podcast would be better without putting any more effort in. And I said, granted, because you're kicked off the podcast, someone funnier than you joins the podcast.
Right, I already forgot what we were talking about there.
I don't know. I guess that's basically the end. I just feel like there should be more discussion on that.
Right.
But I don't have anything, so. All right. I mean, I'm gonna skip my last one because it's not good. But here's my actual last one now then, which is I wish I was always a comfortable temperature.
Okay. That's granted by you being stuck in one room, which is kept at whatever temperature you want.
Oh no. Originally, I made that wish. I wish I was never cold, as a softball, so you could say, "Granted, you're always hot."
You're on fire.
Yeah, so I guess I'm stuck in a single room at a comfortable temperature for the rest of my life. Rip.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad most of that's got to be way longer, right?
This is now the image size that that Patreon wants me to upload it as, but I'm going.
Show me again. Right, so... Oh, that's the whole image. Yep, alright, I guess that's good then. That's less funny than I thought it would be.
One thing here which is going to make it ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't see it right now.
I know, hold on a minute.
Okay.
Or actually, why not? Just...
That's what I
changed
envisioned.
the image size, but now I can change the canvas size separately back to what it should be.
Nice.
And it just added this big white block at the bottom.
That is perfect. That is exactly the quality of image that our podcast deserves. If you're listening to this and it's no longer this image is no longer the banner on our Patreon, just email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com and we will send you the image so you can revel in its glory.
I was going to say we could make this our YouTube banner image as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we should also make that image the long close-up.
Of our eyes, right?
That's a good idea. So.
All right. So, yeah, if you want to see it, email us.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're a Purdue lawyer, though, we're not going to send it to you. We definitely never made this our banner, and you have no evidence. So goodbye.
I actually screwed this up and made it 1200 by 1400 pixels when it should have been 1600. So it is actually now 33% wider.
That is terrific.
It's basically unrecognizable, so I'm not sure if the lawyers would actually have a good case.
I think it's recognizable. Or at least maybe it's just because I know what I'm looking at.
Right. I don't know if you look at this image and you can easily tell what it is despite having heard us talk about exactly what we were doing on this podcast just now.
Email us.
Right.
So yeah, we're approaching the end here. We somehow filled an hour with this crappy monkey's paw segment.
Incredible. I think that was due to our extensive introduction, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, we filled the time of the introduction and also the we were at the 30-minute mark by the time we finished our first two questions. So
ooh, wow.
And also the Patreon took up a little bit of time.
Right.
So that's good. That's good because we only produce the highest quality content.
Yes, so. This was a work of brilliance.
All right, so like we said at the beginning, if you haven't sent us a picture of money yet, please do so, and we will send you a picture of a ticket to our live show. And if the live show's already happened and you missed it, sucks for you. But you can listen to it here on our channel at some point.
It will not be exclusive forever.
Yep, and right. So yeah, I guess that's it for this podcast. The next thing you hear will just be my introduction followed by 3 hours of silence.
3 hours of airplane noises, followed by 3 hours of. Well, I suppose we don't even really need to do an episode between now and.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I meant to talk about that at the beginning. I forgot. So this is episode 21. I know we've been saying that 25 was going to be our live show, but I don't really think we're going to do 3 episodes between now and then.
Unless some of them are really bad and not in the funny way that we're discussing, but just 30 seconds, no effort.
Yeah. So, and since we have such a high standard for all of our podcasts. We would not want to do that. So it will not be episode 25, like we said. It'll be episode 22 or 23, depending upon if we do something else between now and then. But we're really going to miss out on that 24 joke that we had planned out.
Right. We can still do that. We just won't be able to do it as a lead-in to our live show, which is a bit of a bummer. Because we would have, done the rest of the joke as the intro, and everyone would have been confused in a funny way until they listened to the podcast.
They would not have been funny. We would have opened it. It would have just been like 25. I'm Alex, and this is our podcast. And then everyone would just be like, why did they say 25? And it was just only the true fans of the podcast will get it.
Right.
Which is no one, so.
Yeah.
Except for you, Maelstrom. We know you're a true fan. All right. Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this has been Joel.